So hello, welcome back to Blake's Den. Something a bit different today. I bought this recently. It's a Mountfield 4155H for hydrostatic out front mower. It's got a Briggs and Stratton 15.5 horsepower engine, hydrostatic drive in the mower decks out front. It's very similar to a Steiger machine. I think they sell these Mountfield ones as a cheaper version of that. So I bought this to take the pressure off my Westwood, which was getting a bit old and tired. And since I've got this, I've had a few engine problems. So if I lift that up, so here be the engine. Problems I've had is the exhaust valve seat, which is somewhere in there, fell out and made the engine completely lose compression, which is quite a common problem on these Briggs engines. I had the same thing happen on the Westwood, so fixed that. Next time I was cutting the grass, it had lots of blue smoke all the time, and basically I've narrowed it down to I don't think the cylinder head gasket has been seated correctly or it's slipped. Something's not right anyway. It's losing oil, and that oil is coming straight out of here, which goes straight into the air intake and then just burns all the oil. So I need to whip the cylinder head off again, replace the gasket, so thought I'd bring you along for the ride. Let's jump forward a couple of steps there. I've taken the battery out, so it's just a little battery, and then undone the screws which hold this plate down, and then also took off the starter relay just for access. And then I can get that out of the way and just leave the hydraulic reservoir attached. And then that should allow me to get in to access the cylinder head bolts. I also popped off the HT lead, just left the spark plug in for now. I need to remove the exhaust and air intake from the cylinder head first. So we'll do the air intake first. It's an interesting mix of fasteners on this machine. So everything on the chassis is metric, and everything on the engine, with it being American, so sort of Steiger's Swedish, so European fasteners, metric, and everything on the engine is imperial. So this is 3/8 inch nut, which I can't undo one-handed. Anyway, yeah, I'll come back to that. Yeah, just undo those and then that should pop off. So with those slackened off, just in case I'm unscrewing them. There is an O-ring behind this you don't want to lose. Just pull that out. So you can see that orange O-ring, don't lose that because that seals up against the air intake into the engine. In fact, you probably can't see, but it's very oily in that air intake. So what was happening was it was throwing all the oil up this way, and then the air intake on the sort of the air box here, so this is the cover off on the engine, it's all going in there, then going straight in the engine, just burning it. So for the exhaust, it's pretty much the same process. Half-inch spanner on there. I'm actually using a 13 because I'm too lazy to go back, but the difference between 12.7 and 13 is not very much, so that's fine. So one of those needs to come out in full, and then there's another bolt sort of the opposite side, but the flange on the end of the exhaust is slotted, so that bolt doesn't have to come out fully. You can just slacken it off and then slide the exhaust out of the way. The other exhaust bolt is a cap head. So I'm using an Allen key. I'm not sure if it's cap head by design, but that's just what it is on mine. So I've got an Allen key in there, so hopefully I can pull this, and there we are. It's starting to loosen off now. So as I said before, this one does not need to come all the way out. It just needs to come off a few turns to allow the exhaust to slip off. So that's the exhaust pulled off and out of the way. You could take the whole system off, but I'm just going to try and leave it on and just work around it. And then there's a little earth strap here on the engine as well. That needs to be undone. And then kept safe. So I'm putting all of the fasteners in a magnetic tray while I'm doing this. Very useful things to have. I'll put a link below if you've not got one. So there we are, and that goes in there. Right, now we can start undoing the cylinder head bolts, which are various places around the head. Bolt is coming out now. We'll see what we've got. Nearly there. Catch it later. Okay, now the head should come off. Lots of oil. So first inspections are, the head gasket was on the right way around. So why was it leaking? Investigations required. So I've pulled the head off now, I've pulled the push rods out as well. That was running quite oily, but I don't even know if the spark plug was even sparking. Over here, lots of oil. I think it's been coming out from where the sort of the push rods sit. So I don't know if I can get the camera around there. You can see there's a clear oil stain down there, and if you look back at the head, it sort of corresponds with oil there. So I'm going to clean this all up and investigate further. I've cleaned that up and definitely found a problem. So this is the reverse face of the gasket. So the side which should be sitting against the block. You can see that the gasket's gone there, and also I think, was it on the opposite side? Yeah, it's gone there. So what is happening is all the oil which is in the pushrod tubes, well not the tubes, the pushrod cavity, so that's coming up and it's leaking out. That is getting past the gasket and is just escaping onto that fan. That fan is blown it everywhere, so that's the transmission cooling fan. That's blown it straight into the intake. And if you look at the cylinder head, so you have got some evidence there, that dark colour and a blow by, such as the exhaust gas is leaking out that way, and you can sort of see it hasn't sealed particularly well there. So we should be able to solve that problem by fitting the new gasket. It's now the next day and I've got my new gasket there ready to go on. Also as well, I've just taken the cylinder head, I've taken the valve cover off, so that will allow me to get the push rods back in and get the fingers and arms back on correctly. I've also picked up, well, it's not new spark plugs, that's the old one, and I've got that one off another mower. It's hardly been used, it's a bit corroded on the end, but the contacts are fine. These probably won't pick it up, but it was actually quite badly worn, that one, so I'll stick a new spark plug in as well. Right, so reassembly is the reversal of removal. All you got to do is make sure that all your surfaces are nice and clean, so I'll give that another going over before I put it back on. So that's the new gasket on, located on the two pins, so you can only get it the right way around. And that's the old gasket, which is very second hand and ready for the bin. Right, I'm just going to start bolting this back together, and yeah, I'm not going to show you in great detail because it's pretty much reverse of removal. So I've put 3 bolts in, just finger tight for now, so I haven't really compressed the gasket down, and that's allowed me to get the push rods in and then get the rockers into position. Now that is way too much play, but when I pull the head down, it's going to pull everything towards the engine. The push rod's going to go further out, basically because the push rod's against the engine block. So everything's going to move, so I'm going to check it again when the head is bolted down. But it's fairly easy to adjust anyway. So I'm just going to whiz around, tighten up all those. I don't actually know what torque setting is, so I'll just do it as tight as I feel. It's not a high performance engine, so torque in the order of torquing is not super critical. Right, the head's all torqued down now, so I can get the valve settings right. So if you just rotate the engine, you can see how the valve gear works. So when the valve is closed, so it's like fully that way, that player moves around. It should have about between 5 and 10 thou. So I'm measuring 8. 8's really loose. So there's a little torque sort of screw down the middle of the bolt. Just back that off and then wind it in a bit, and then I just put the feeler gauge in until it goes tight. So that's beginning to get tight now. And then I'll just nip that off. And then that's that clearance set. And I'll do the same for the exhaust. Just give this engine a quick spin, 360 degrees. There's no bangs, no clunks, no nothing, so it should be fine when we end up running it. And it's all back together except the top, which I'm just going to leave off for now. It'll be alright to run it. That top does help the cooling, it channels the air around, but it'll be fine to run it. So yeah, I just want to check to see if it actually works. I've spun the engine over by hand. There's no funny noises, and I just want to check if I've got any oil leaks. So let's see if it will start. Okay, so that seemed okay. There's a bit of residual oil on the top there, but that's fine, it'll just burn off. A few bits of oil on the bits I've touched will burn off as well. So yeah, it's looking all right. I can't see any fluid leaks. There's nothing pouring out underneath, worse than it was. So good. Right, I think I'll put that cover on and I'll give it a little bit of a tune up and then we're done. So there we are, all done. It's running really well. So that's on the idle and up to full power. So no blue smoke coming out of it whatsoever. So I'll just turn it off. So I think that's a bit of a result. Seems to be running a bit better now, so great. Well, I hope you've found the video useful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.